Hello, Flurs. What's up? It's good to see you all tonight. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad you could make it on this awesome evening. It's nice and hot. We got PJ Cruikshank in Element. How are you doing, kind sir?
I'm all good. I'm all on my lonesome with it tonight. I wonder what's going on. Disc's been trying to get in, but he's having problems getting into Element, or else he'd be here, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'm good.
even I had issues getting on Element tonight, so I had to unlog and get out again, you know, that kind of thing. But I am here now, so.
I've never had a problem with it yet. When I was on my phone, I used to have a problem with it sometimes with the camera and stuff like that. But yeah, since I've been on the computer, I've never had a problem once with it, to be honest.
But it's good to have you here.
It's a lot better than Discord.
But it's good to see you. And say hi to everybody in the chat. It's good to see you guys. Thank you all for coming. I'm glad you could make it. Got 11 votes already, guys. FTFE is the fallacy king. Yes, 33%. No, 67%. Yeah, it's going up and down. It's going crazy. 67% say no, and 33% say yes.
So that 67% is Luch with soccer cap. Oh no, of course it's not crazy. It's not fallacy.
It's crazy. So anyway, I'm gonna say hi to everybody in the chat quickly. PJ, good to see you, man. Victoria, always glad to have you here. Luch, what's up, man? Thank you for coming. Jeff Gassed, great to have you here, man. YouTube, you rock, man. Thank you for coming. Nathan Wright, hello, glad you could have it. And INFE, what's up? Okay, guys, I did try and play around with my voice settings again today. I literally got everything on full blast, so if it is soft, I have no idea what could be the reason. But everything is as full blast as it can go. And it sounds probably fine to you, PJ?
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. It's a little louder than normal, but it's still fine.
Okay, cool. Hey, Flat Earth Travolta, good to see you, man. Thank you for making it. I'm glad you're going. Now it's 50-50, guys, for 16 votes. So, sitting today, I was wondering, what are we going to do a stream on today? And watching some of this Mindshock review between Craig and Kaleb, I thought, hang on, let's see what fallacies get shown up, because I mean we actually did reviews on this debate between Craig and Kaleb, and yeah, we know Craig really suffered bad. This is part 2 though, so it shows already 194 fallacies. That's embarrassing. That means practically every time he opened his mouth, he had a fallacy, guys.
Definitely.
That's insane.
I'd say he must have just been opening his mouth a lot then. His mouth, not his belly rumble.
But yeah. Jolly Man, also good to see you, man. Tony Whitcomb, what's up? Glad you could make it. Gary Wabenga, glad you can make it too. It's always good to see you. He says, and Flatzoid Revolt has been a member for 6 months. Wow, mate. Flatzoid is ace. No, thank you, man. You guys are ace. Really appreciate everybody's support on this channel. And I'm looking forward to the year with you guys. And as we watch this channel grow, definitely, I think the channel's going to grow. So thank you guys. You guys rock. And it can't grow without your help. So please hit the likes and share the show, as it really does help to get the show out to a wide audience. And I've got a message for the trolls on this channel. Can you read my shirt? PJ, what does that shirt say?
It says, your feelings. What's that first bit? Oh.
What's he doing?
All right.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, I get it. He's getting rather frisky with his feelings.
So yeah. That's for you trolls out there. If your feelings. Oh yeah. In the first video, he had 504 fallacies, which is just wow. Yeah, this is Mindshock. Mindshock is doing this. What's the name? Are you ready to start off, PJ?
Yeah, let's do
this.
I have to hand it. I have to hand it to Kaleb. I have to hand it to Austin Whitsitt. I have to hand it to Jaronism. I have to hand it to anybody who could handle this level of gophery. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Just getting through this debate was so tough. I'm going to try to bang this out in one more part. But again, I do apologize. And I apologize in advance if I need to make this a 3-parter. I'm going to do my best to finish this up now. But again, I am only a mere mortal. I'm just a man. There's only so much that I...
Flat Earth Travolta, thank you very much for gifting 5 memberships, mate. I really, really appreciate it. You rock. Big shout out to you, man. Shout out to all the members on this channel. And shout out to everybody that does support this channel. You are awesome. Thank you very much again, Flat Earth Travolta. You are really awesome. An angel, a real angel. Sorry?
Not a professor. Phil's always lucky. He's never here, but he always gets a blooming. He always gets a
Teddy Bingo 33. Never heard of that, but thank you for being a member as well. Gary White Benga, welcome. Jeff Gassett, also welcome. And Jonah Edwards, whoop whoop. And then obviously Professor Phil Bell. Yeah, but thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate all the support. You rock.
It's good to see that John Travolta turned away from Scientology, though, and come to Flat Earth, isn't it?
Mm.
Flat Earth Travolta. I like it.
You know, it is Saturday Night Live now, so.
Yeah, of course.
And I have no idea how some of these people can
Hey,
handle
Andres,
these
look what's
multi-hour
that?
discussions with...
Hola, amigos. Glad you could make it, mate. Glad you could make it. It's good to see you.
these mental midgets. Again, that was not part of the argument, which is why it's not an ad hominem logical fallacy. For all the clueless goofs out there that do not understand how logical fallacies work, like clearly Craig, and notice how Craig, in his triggered stupor, him and all his fanboys that have been trolling the comment section on Twitter and on YouTube here under my logical analysis here, notice how not a single one of them demonstrated how what I labeled as a logical fallacy wasn't actually a fallacy. Notice how they have not...
That's so true. I think you've also realized this, PJ. When you call out them on a fallacy or you show them how they're wrong, their response is, nah, you're stupid.
Exactly. They just hand wave everything. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, they never actually have an actual rebuttal to anything. I mean, we saw with the same guy with last night, with that teacher, that science teacher, whatever he was. The whole stream, he never had one actual rebuttal to anything. It was just literally nah and at home.
Yeah, and if they can't think of anything else to say, they'll just come out with that screechy, wicked laugh.
Yeah, he literally sounded like Craig, to be honest, with that laugh. It was bad. Yep. Tapered Bodies, what's up? And Lord Translation, good to see you, man. Thank you for coming. Glad you can make it. Here, this Lord in.
Oh, he's here. Are you here? This lad?
I think I heard him.
No, he's not here.
Who did he hear? Was it just you then?
Yeah, it's just me here. But he's in chat saying, feel like, oh no, he said that ages ago.
Oh, sorry.
He's been trying for 30 minutes.
I thought I heard him now.
I wonder if you can get in any other rooms. But it doesn't matter. We're in this room anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
But it's appreciative to have everybody out, man. And then I just see Spuddy hopped in now as well. So it's glad to have you in too, Spuddy. Thank you for coming. Okay, you ready to go on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not been able to refute a single point made. And they also hallucinated that either I'm dumb or wrong and pretended that all I did was call Craig a goof. Now, I'm not going to deny that I objectively called him a goof, because obviously he's a goof. A goof is someone who's silly, is goofy, obviously, no logical capability, or playing stupid, whatever, intentionally, unintentionally a goof. They completely ignored 99% of the presentation. I mean, I have all of these sources from, these are academic sources, Harvard, various different papers, clearly demonstrating that Craig is not just completely and utterly clueless, but he didn't even regurgitate the religious tenets of his scientism as it pertains to the theory of relativity. In particular, what Craig...
But that's what they do. They don't actually know their own religion. They think they do, but they don't. So the things they parrot are just wrong. And when you try and explain it to them that they're wrong, they don't understand it.
That's it.
Glenn Selsh, what's up? Truth over comfort. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. So yeah, it's very true. I'm liking this Mindshock, dude. Keep it up, man.
Is inaccurately calling a scientific experiment. So Eddington's observations, his fallacious tests, they didn't even predict anything accurately. So Craig is hallucinating and pretending and claiming that these predictions were accurate. Now, even if they were accurate, like, the Mayans with their flat earth cosmology accurately predicting eclipses, actually predicting, that doesn't make the reasoning behind it true, just like it wouldn't make relativity true. But the point here is Craig is so utterly clueless and ignorant of basic physics history. He made the claims that these tests were done and they were repeated and they were all accurate. They weren't. That's the whole point.
Exactly, they weren't. I've tried explaining this to him many times, but Craig is the guy that loves to, how can I put this, go on McToon's site, and because McToon's site says something, just takes it up as fact. McToon's site is one of the biggest hogwash rubbishes that are out there. The information he puts on his site is idiotic and wrong, but yet he wants to claim it as true and fact. It's stupid. Hey, viewers, 33 viewers, Illuminati confirmed. Yeah. I like this Mindshock guy. I think he's starting to see, actually, how can I put it, just how idiotic the Globe Defenders really are.
Yeah.
They have like literally nothing. It makes a person wonder how they're capable of knowing how to put their own shirts on.
Point. I mean, he's not even at a first grade English comprehension level, let alone a middle school or high school understanding of any of this history, because in the subsequent tests or observations, obviously this is not scientific experiment. Eddington's experiment was clearly not scientific.
Yep, it wasn't an experiment, exactly. Not scientific at all. Waiting. What's observed phenomena? What was the independent variable? Waiting.
Yeah.
Wow. So would you still get the same effect even if you weren't waiting? Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
And again, notice how all these goofs and trolls and Craig fanboys, and again, I'm not even sure if they can be real fanboys. They're probably paid shills. I mean, what kind of a functioning human being would actually be a fan of a goof like Craig? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the mentally disabled stick together and stick up for each other just for being on the same mentally disabled team. Probably paid shills. I mean, who knows? Mm-hmm. But notice how they couldn't refute a single one of these points. They continued to hallucinate that I'm the one that didn't know what I was talking about. And notice how I'm the only one that brought any sources whatsoever to the table. Because Craig is just regurgitating the religious scientific dogma, but he's not even sourcing the dogma. He's not even sourcing where Eddington's claims came from.
He won't do that because he doesn't even know himself. Why would he do source work when all he gets his information from is people like McToon's site?
Yeah, they feed it into his ear during debates and that, Yeah. He doesn't need to respond.
I mean, all his information comes from McToon's site, and that's why he's wrong all the time. Because McToon's, like I said, McToon's site is baloney. It's stupid. Hey, Sovereign Soul, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. And eyes to see if he what's up. Glad you could make it. But yeah, I think this Mindshock is clearly out saying straight facts. And yeah, shout out to Mindshock. Keep up the work, man.
I'm the only one that actually looked at any historical sources. I'm the only one that provided any actual definitions of anything being discussed here. Whereas all Craig did is hallucinate and bring forth these religious regurgitations from his call. And all of his supporters and the trolls in the comment sections, they couldn't refute any of it. They have no sources of their own. And they can only...
One thing I have realized, guys, it likes to do a 33 on us.
Yeah, it's going up to 36 now, though. Just as soon as they type that, it went up to 36.
But it likes to do a 33.
Does it? Usually sticks on it for a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes sometimes.
Yep.
Cry on how I was somehow randomly dinging him. I mean, the dings are for each and every fallacy. I actually missed a few when I went and looked it over. I actually missed a couple for Craig. He committed more, and I think I might have missed one or two for Kaleb as well. I actually don't even remember because he did, obviously he wasn't doing a lot of talking. It was mostly Craig.
It's true. He
with
wasn't
his,
talking much.
religious regurgitations. But let me finish the intro here. Obviously, if you want to help support Mindshock, help bring back logic and reason to a world where it's quickly going extinct. I mean, do you really want a world full of Craigs? I mean, that's
No.
scary. I mean, and there's a lot of these goofs out there. I mean, I don't know if they're as dumb as Craig per se, but there's a lot of them out there. So that's the difference in terms of what is or isn't a fallacy. When I clearly lay out the entire argument, demonstrate with empirically verifiable definitions for all of these terms, both scientific and relating to the fallacious, to the logical fallacies themselves.
Yeah, this Mindshock is the channel's name. You know, let me quickly see if I can get the the site link for you. But yeah, Mindshock, actually very cool stuff. History, let's see. 40 people watching. Whoop whoop. Thank you all for watching. It's good to see you guys. I really appreciate you all coming. Please hit the likes and share the show. Really appreciate you all. Okay. Let me quickly paste it in for you. There we go. That's Mindshock's channel.
Luch says, how come flat earthers haven't done any experiments Wilbur's site? Yeah, because usually Wilbur's their site. Usually the experiments Wilbur's site ain't experiments.
I'm first going to find out what experiments have Globus done, Luch. Globus first has to do science before we can do demonstrations of the, you know, experiments of those scientific experiments. But so far, I've yet to see a scientific experiment from a Glober yet. Have you seen anything, PJ?
No. And he's right with the next comment. Cavendish, nope. Pendulum, nope. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
Cavendish is not science and nor is a Foucault's pendulum. Well done. Yeah.
And then I call Craig a goof. That's not a fallacy. Whereas Craig claiming I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm stupid, or whatever, or I'm dumber than flat earthers, or whatever the goof said in the comment section, that's fallacious because there's no argument there. If he provided the argument and then said that's why I'm dumber, then it wouldn't be a fallacy. Is everybody following here? I can't believe I even had to boil it down. I can't believe I had to lower that to like a first, I mean, that's probably kindergarten level, maybe even preschool. Maybe even preschool. I mean, I don't know. There might be some smart preschoolers out there.
For coming.
But if you want to help support Mindshock and help me continuing to do what I do, exposing these scientism cultists, bringing down the IQ levels of everybody, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can support the Mindshock channel by becoming a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for taste, topic, logical analysis, co-podcasts, requests. You can also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier.
Wow,
questions, comments, serious thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in to work. The discussion surrounding red shift alone is just invaluable. I had always taken Eddington's results as one of the evidential pillars justifying relativity, so to hear the results so thoroughly investigated is both mind-shockingly and heroically important. Great work, Bruce. And again, it's not just him. I mean, I look at Craig. A lot of these cultists, they look at Eddington's so-called results. Keep in mind, they threw away.
That's funny. Shoe's a phenomena. Yeah, Brenda. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Everything didn't match. Over 400% error in predictions versus future observations, which also might not be accurate. The error rate might be
400% error in observations, guys. Do you know how bad that is? 400% error. Wow.
Far greater than that. I mean,
that's insane.
It is.
This is best case scenario.
100%, you know, like maximum. It's over.
It's maximum times 4.
Yeah.
This is the admitted 400% off.
Man.
This is best case scenario, is these astronomical errors. And this is why most scientism cultists hallucinate that relativity actually is backed by something. I mean, look how many times Craig repeats the fallacy.
Yeah, but you see, they can't back relativity because it's based in non-observational mathematics. So it's impossible to observe it to be able to validate it. That's why they can't. It's just a mind concept. It's a mind... how can I put it in a nice way? Mind control. People just believe it. You know what I mean? Just because it's said so, therefore it is. But it's based on mind constructs. It's all just conceptual. Mind conceptually. So, yeah. You can't actually go and validate anything because it's a concept based in someone's mind.
Yeah, and they get over familiar with it, comfortable with it, and just reckon it's true.
Exactly.
The stack of fallacies, rather, not a single fallacy. Because that's all he has, and he didn't even source it. That's the thing. I mean, there's scientism cultists out there that could at least provide the sources, but he never does. Notice that. Very, very telling. And none of the triggered goof trolls provide any kind of sources either. I always do, of course. They're on the screen right now. But anyway, yeah, so Scott-Free is definitely not alone in thinking that Eddington had some kind of substance there, which he obviously did not. Continuing his post here, what I and so many perhaps accidental supporters of scientism have fallen for is an epic appeal to authority, monolithic structure. And we have trusted the people that have communicated Eddington's results without investigation.
I still want to see where those plates that they have where they took photos of this Eddington redshift. Have you actually seen the actual video footage? Have you seen the actual video evidence of this? Photographic evidence? No, neither there. Because it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
They want it to exist, but it doesn't exist. It's the same. It's the same as Aristophanes. There's no documentation the guy ever existed, yet they want to base their whole belief system on this guy that has no evidence that he ever existed.
Luch is so deluded sometimes. So Mindshock made fallacies and FTFE made zero. And that's fact.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen one fallacy Mindshock has made yet.
It's just it's your bias is showing though, Lou. It's I understand it. I understand it when you totally believe something. You don't want it to be untrue. I get it, dude. I get it.
I got an idea. Luch, would you be able to tell us what fallacies Mindshock has done so far?
Excellent point, Scott-Free there. And think about the mental strength Scott-Free has to have in order to admit that to himself. So this is an individual who is clearly not a narcissist, whose ego has him on too short string.
Oh, you said the first video.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we haven't watched the first one, so this is the second one.
To re-examine any of these things. Because obviously clueless goofs like Craig, I mean, these narcissists, these mentally disabled narcissists, I mean, let's not fall for false dichotomies. Mentally disabled people can be narcissists as well. Just look at Craig. They just don't have the mental strength. Forget about intelligence. Mental strength is a different category. You could be extremely dumb, but mentally strong. You could be extremely, extremely intelligent and mentally weak. So these are all obvious possibilities. But Scott-Free here has the mental strength to re-examine. And just on...
Where did he make the atom fallacy, mate? He even explained why it's not an atom. You first have to have an argument before it can become an atom. If there's no argument and you're attacking the person on the argument, then it can't be an atom.
That point, I'm going to go over one more quote that I've gone over in the past a number of times in regard to the religious cult of scientism, but I will do it again because it's so related here. On Richard Feynman, one of the most celebrated so-called scientists, he had a very, very interesting quote on what science is. Science is the belief in the ignorance of the experts. So
Exactly. Yeah, how's he going to commit a fallacy if he's reviewing, he's not debating?
I
So
know.
to have an actual fallacy, he's going to actually have to be debating with Craig or whatever. I don't know, because that's how a fallacy works. It requires two to
Yeah.
tango.
But should an ad hom be called a fallacy? Because a fallacy is something, is a mistaken belief. An ad hom is just slagging someone instead of the argument. So I don't get why it's called a fallacy, really.
FTFE counted a total of 504 fallacies at Mindshock. I doubt not even one of them are actual fallacies, Luch. Craig wouldn't know a fallacy even if it hit him in the face, to be honest.
Strange terminology, isn't it? I mean, I get it. Everybody uses it as a fallacy and that, but I don't understand why it's called a fallacy. Not an ad hom anyway. I don't get why it's called a fallacy.
Clueless bootlicking authority worshipping cultist goof like Craig, if he sees something written, oh, Eddington predicted this, oh, and it was accurate, oh, and every subsequent test matched those predictions, he's not going to fact check any of that. I mean, brain dead goofs like Craig, they don't fact check anything. It's their core religious tenets. It's blasphemy to fact check what the priests have preached. They have to take it on blind religion.
And that's what Craig is in the situation is today with gravity, and why he has to end up saying gravity causes gravity. Because he's always had to push it as gravity's a force, even though he had George Musa on that clearly stated gravity's not a force. You know what I mean?
Yes, but I get it. I do get it. But I just mean for the word fallacy itself, the definition, the meaning for it is a mistaken belief. I get it. I do understand it. It's just a weird terminology for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
Hey, like a rock. Good to see you, man. Glad you can make it.
Faith. They have to. That's the way their brain or whatever's in their head that substitutes for a brain. Because I don't even know if Craig can tie his shoes. Should we start a poll? Who thinks Craig can tie his own shoes? Because I mean, it's kind of difficult to believe that Craig can tie his own shoes. What does everybody think? Do you think he's capable of tying his own shoes?
I think he has a wife for that. He makes the tea, so she ties his shoes.
So here's the full quote from Feynman. Learn from science that you must doubt the experts. As a matter of fact, I can also define science another way. Science is the belief in the ignorance of the experts. When someone says science teaches such and such, he is using the word incorrectly. So obviously that's the vast majority of goofs out there. Science does...
Flat Earth Travolta, thank you very much for your $10 super chat, mate. Really, really appreciate your support. He says, Earth is measured flat. Jesus loves you and is coming back. Amen. And I strongly believe this year is going to be a year where people are going to open their eyes. I strongly believe that spiritually there's something going to happen this year. But yeah, thank you very much for your super chat. Really appreciate it, Flat Earth Travolta. You rock. And you know what the funny thing is? A lot of documentations, like, I mean, even like Agenda 21 and all that stuff, you know, all the different agendas and stuff, lead to this year somehow. Weird. To 2024. So it's definitely got a year of significance to whatever's going to happen this year.
Doesn't teach it, experience teaches it. If they say to you, science has shown such and such, you might ask, how does science show it? How did the scientists find out how, what, where? Not science has shown, but this experiment, this effect has shown. And you have as much right as anyone else about hearing about the experiments, but we must listen to all the evidence to judge whether a reasonable conclusion has been arrived at.
I like that. Exactly. It's not science, so it can't be a scientific experiment. So how are you able to validate that it is even plausible? There's no evidence for it. The conclusions you're basing are just based on faith. And that's unfortunate because that's all they have at the end of the day is faith.
So you can see that Craig here and a lot of these other scientism cultist groups are clearly not following this at all. They just took it on blind faith. They never demonstrate how. I mean, Craig, literally all of the verbal diarrhea coming out of Craig's mouth is just nonsense because he never once says how. He just repeats and regurgitates.
John Edwards, Zoid's prophecies. It's good to have you here, man. Glad you could make it. No, on all seriousness, I do think this year something is going to happen somewhere. On a spiritual basis, let's put it that way. But I'm not making any prophetic claims or anything. I'm just saying, out of my spirit, I can feel something good. You know, something spiritual is going to happen this year.
The dogma and then is outraged when anybody doesn't accept the religious dogma at face value. Because again, he claimed, Eddington's experiment, he calls it an experiment, it showed this, it proves this. The Coriolis proved this because of the spin. He never once says how. Notice that. He's bottom of the barrel. This is why it's very difficult. I mean, call me crazy, call me fallacious. I am going to appeal to incredulity right here, and I'm not going to deny it like all the clueless goofs. I'm going to appeal to incredulity. I find it extreme.
Yeah, the new channel name, guys, are decided on Flatzoid. It was the most voted, so it was between that and TFC, Time for Change. But I think Flatzoid will stand out more, so yeah. Flatzoid, it's going to be for the new channel, guys. But thanks again for everybody who voted and who's been helping out. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing the new fitness content as well. I think it's going to be something fresh as well.
Extremely difficult to believe that Craig is not legitimately mentally disabled. Or, again, he's just this phenomenal actor, and the Globe Earth shill budget is far greater than any of us can imagine. I mean, they could just pull these actors that are better than anybody in Hollywood like Craig, if he's not really mentally disabled, and just play this level of stupidity so convincing.
Remember, Luch, even you said you finally looked up the right-hand rule? Because I told him look up the right-hand rule. Guys, I was wrong. I said left-hand rule the whole night, so I'm sorry. I apologize. I meant right-hand rule. Left-hand rule is not for torque. That's for electricity. Right-hand rule is for the torque. So anyway, yeah, that's the reason why it happens, Luch, and we've explained it. And no, distance between the masses is not the IV. Then you don't need to put the masses. How's that? Have no masses on there and see if you're going to get the same result, Luch.
Because he's convincing. I mean, I've never seen somebody who's not actually mentally disabled be so realistic in portraying mental disability as Craig. So again...
Yeah, there isn't any flat Earth. It's the same as saying let's stand in front of or next to a bus or a ship or something on a skateboard, and it should attract us closer to that ship or boat or whatever. That doesn't happen because what we are looking at with the Cavendish is a man-made conjured demonstration of torque vectoring. It's nothing more than torque. There's no gravity involved. There's no forces pulling towards the Earth. It's just simply a result of a weight due to the density of the mass being able to push that force somewhere. Thanks to the right-hand rule, you have it moving in a linear fashion. There we go. It's all just torque. Except they wanted to do something that it doesn't. They wanted to have something that doesn't. I mean, there's people done focal demonstrations where it goes in the opposite direction. Sometimes it doesn't do anything.
Craig not once can demonstrate how or why, because again, he doesn't understand the scientific method. He doesn't understand the manipulation of variables. He doesn't understand false cosmological fallacies. He didn't even study the religion well. because he doesn't even know that his own religion of scientism doesn't even match the claims he's making.
Exactly. LJ, thank you very much for your $2 super chat, mate. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. What's a good short question to ask the engineer? Tonight in the debate, I know you'll be sleeping, by the way. Yeah, I'm going to be watching we'll probably do the review of the debate. Looking forward to it. To ask the engineer, I got an idea. Ask the engineer, has gravity ever been measured as a force? Ask him that. Has gravity ever been measured as a force? Not calculated, measured as a force. Then you see him squirm because he's going to take mass and call mass gravity, which would show he's not a real engineer. Or he's just ignorant. But yeah, keep it up, LJ. I'm looking forward to you asking the questions, because you always ask awesome questions to the people at MDB.
So, continue. Oh, and for the source, Feynman said this at the 15th annual meeting of the National Science Teachers Association in 1966. For all the goofs that are going to claim he never said that. Okay. And again, even if he wasn't the one that said it, the merit behind what he said. Because if goofs like Craig actually understood that, they would have examined Eddington's alleged experiment, seen how all of the non-matching data was thrown out, how all of the follow-up tests, I mean, they're getting error rates of over 400%. So it didn't match the prediction in the first place. So is it reasonable to conclude?
Awesome, mate. Looking forward to it, LJ.
That Eddington proved Einstein's relativity in any way? Obviously, anybody would have.
And you can ask him another question. What's mass? That'll be funny. Because I've asked so many times, what's mass? And none of them are able to tell us what mass is.
Functioning brain would say no. So continuing Scott Free's post here, just one note about the psychology of Craig, who really is an enigma as to whether he is so dense as to not realize how absurd he sounds, or as to what his motivations are for subjecting us all to such a painful display. The cult of scientism is so pervasive that I think a lot of folks like Craig are so excited to participate with the orthodox approved institutions of science that they willingly dive into the whole fictional belief system without any scrutiny. One small example being Eddington and the redshift, and happily digest, believe, and repeat the gibberish is because at root it makes them feel smarter than other people. It strokes their ego and makes them feel as if they are in the club of knowledgeable ones, in quotations. It is the same propaganda tactic as managing to convince so many people that anyone who would take ivermectin.
So, Luch, what is mass, mate? You say gas is mass. What is mass?
A drug on par with aspirin until recently, is so stupid because suddenly science, in quotations, now says it's a horse dewormer. Without noticing that yesterday ivermectin was considered harmless, they gleefully chortle at the idiocy of people who would take ivermectin.
Yep. Ivermectin really, really does wonders. I actually saw a thing where a person lost their job, a pharmacist lost their job because they were giving people ivermectin.
What is ivermectin again?
It's the medicine that you give to the cattle.
Oh, okay, got you.
And let's just put it this way: you didn't worry about the C when you took it, because it actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because today, scientific authority Fauci says it's a horse dewormer, and that is all the science, in quotations, that the mob needs. Excellent points by Scott Free, a very, very astute listener. And shout out to all the logical Mindshock listeners. Again, I know I go on and on about the Dunning-Kruger crowd and all the cultist goofs, all the brain-dead cultist goofs, the Dunning-Kruger crowd, but yeah, I mean...
Yeah, we use it here for the cattle, though. It works brilliant.
Obviously, the whole reason I do the podcast is I know that there are a certain amount of logical individuals out there. I'm actually kind of surprised. I never thought I'd have as many subs as I actually do now. And I've even gotten messages like on Facebook and other places of triggered goofs who they don't like the way that I objectively call out goofery and the Dunning-Kruger effect, the scientism cultists. They consider it insults because obviously they ignore 99.9% of all the podcasts. They ignore all of the sources on the screen. They ignore the substance of everything I say.
I know, Luch. It's literally measured flat and it's literally calculated to a globe afterwards. Just have to correct you there, Luch.
And only focus at the goof that I throw at the end. I mean, there's just no shortage of these people who claim that I just call anybody I disagree with a goof. Disagree with what? I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue other than the empirically verifiable scientific method that children can know. And just the basic definitions of words. I mean, that's really the only positive claims I've ever made. I'm not claiming a shape of the earth. I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. I mean, just the level of goofery and not being able to comprehend the very motto of this podcast. The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. So, yeah, I mean, just these trigger goofs coming out of the woodwork saying that I need to have more humility. I mean, what's being more...
Why do you need to have more humility, Mindshock? I don't see why he needs humility. He's correcting them and he's calling them out on the fallacies. So I don't see why we need to have more humility. For what? Maybe they just don't like you calling out all the fallacies of their beloved super retarded anti-flat earth heroes. I don't know.
Humble than saying I don't know anything. All I can do is offer empirically verifiable definitions of words. You know, the established scientific method. That's all I really do. That doesn't mean I'm smart or above anyone. A lot of these triggered goofs, I mean, they're so dumb. They're not even on this basic children's level, so they have to pretend I'm so far above it and looking down on everybody instead of me being at a normal children's level. And
cheers, Luch. Thanks for coming, man. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of the evening, man.
Them being so far below. That's why they're so triggered. Because they're not even at that children's level, so they have to pretend that I'm somehow being condescending or pretending to be a know-it-all, while the entire motto of the podcast is me not claiming anything at all is true or untrue. Exactly. I mean, just the level of goofery and triggering of these people. I mean, they prove the points against themselves more than I ever could. But enough of that. Let's jump back into this display. I mean, something that's just, I mean, again, props to Kaleb for handling this level of goofery and Craig. And because Craig just humiliated himself again going on with Jeranism in a debate, which this one was a longer one. I'm going to have to dissect that one again because just... wow, if you think Craig is bad here, I mean, he might even get worse here. I mean...
Hey, Pacao, thank you for coming, man. Good to see you. One Man, One Spirit. Good to have you in too. Guys, please hit the like, share the show. Really, really does help to get the show out to a wider audience. I'm happy to see now Mindshock's going to get into the fallacies again, so we can start laughing again at Craig.
I don't know, like, he might be really providing some competition for Sartain. Again, his verbal diarrhea game, it's just not as good as Sartain's. Like, that's the problem. I mean, he spews fallacies with the best of them, but the rate of the spew might prevent him from taking the Dunning-Kruger crown. But we shall see. So, let's continue here.
An observation can be an experiment.
Yes.
Wow.
No, it can't.
Wow, right off. Wow. So
what? An observation can be an experiment. Oh, wow.
That is say to the socket came in. It's not very original, is it? PJ, stupid slag.
Aww.
Idiot. Huh? Oh, no. That'll be Vicky calling.
Vicky, you're more than happy to get rid of that soccer account. Hey, Quinlan, what's up? Thank you for coming.
Craig is just flat out saying that an observation alone can be an experiment. So clearly he knows none of the steps of the scientific method. Again, Kaleb, I have no idea how you do this. because he's kind of like just circling the drain of bottom barrel, even for mentally disabled people. There's so many mental disabled people that they're not that dumb. They're like way smarter than Craig. So like, I'm not insulting mentally disabled people. There was a comment somewhere also saying that I was discriminating somehow against mentally disabled people. If somebody's short and you call them short, that's not discrimination or hate in any way. That's an observation. If you call somebody a blonde,
I'm short. I'm short, so that's an observation, correct?
or a brunette, that's not discrimination. You're not saying they don't deserve something or they don't deserve human rights or hating on them in any way. I'm not hating on Craig even here at all. I mean, I feel sorry for the poor guy. I mean, unless he has some kind of fetish for just humiliating himself publicly, if he's not mentally disabled, or even if he is. I mean, I have no idea what his true motivations are, but how do you not feel bad for a guy that publicly humiliates himself to this level? I mean, is there nobody around him that cares about him and doesn't want his either mental disability or plain...
That's the thing, a Mindshock. Even I have told this numerous times to Craig that he's embarrassing himself and that what he's spewing is total utter bullshit. He chooses to carry on with this, so I think it's willful. It's a willful ignorance that he does.
Mentally disabled to just be on display like this is just really sad. It's really, really sad, but props to Kaleb for being able to handle this.
If you didn't know that, that's fair enough. I understand that you've never studied physics.
Okay, yeah, we've explained this many times to you Globers, and we're gonna draw it in paint again for you because you still don't understand why the water would flow uphill on a ball. How many times we have to explain this to people? This would be a sphere. You would have a person standing here.
Yeah.
And you would have a person standing here, for instance, okay? For this person, he's on the top of the ball. Yeah. This person's also on top of the ball. If water is flowing downhill away from him, it would be flowing uphill towards this guy.
Exactly. So it's flowing downhill to the guy that's on the top.
Exactly.
So from the guy on the top, it's flowing downhill to the guy on the top.
Exactly. So if this guy's the water's flowing downhill, it's now flowing uphill towards him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's idiotic.
So both rivers are flowing uphill and downhill at the same time. Exactly.
That's how idiotic the globe is.
Which physics says no to that.
Uh-huh. But wow. Okay, so now he's psychologically projecting. We spent a lot of time on Dunning-Kruger and mental disability, but I don't know if we specifically...
Exactly, Quinlan. Both persons on top of the ball. That's the whole issue. So for one, it has to going uphill, while the other one's going downhill.
We spent a lot of time on psychological projection and how accurate it is. So notice how his subconscious is now exposing him, because he's either clearly never studied physics, or he maybe tried to study it, but clearly didn't comprehend anything. I mean, not even the scientific method.
You learn these things when you study physics, that over time, things can happen. You change the position.
Over time, things can happen. Oh, man. Wow. Did Craig miss his calling as some kind of like mentally disabled comic? Over time, things can happen. I mean, these kind of intelligent thoughts. I mean, this level of insight. I mean, have we ever seen anybody on this kind of intellectual level? I mean, is Craig going to go down in history, this intellectual powerhouse that says that over time things can happen, because nobody's ever known that? I mean, that is truly revolutionary.
Yeah. I mean, wow. Way to state the obvious. Over time things happen. No, really?
Surely not.
No. We've never realized this ever.
And there must be energy in the world somewhere. Wow. There must be something or something, you know? That's crazy.
Hey, Oren, good to see you, mate.
I mean, that's probably evolutionary even among the so-called intelligentsia of the world. I mean, over time things can happen. Is that dumb? Is that more or less dumb than his OC response? What do you want it to be regarding the definition of energy? Because that was a good one too. I mean, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, Mindshock. Craig doesn't even know what energy is.
No, I was going to say, Luke. I don't think flat earthers hate Craig. I just think that they think he's an idiot.
We laugh at his, we just laugh at his stupidity. He's what you would call like the class clown.
This is crazy.
And the time you go and look at that thing to see if that thing has happened, and if that matches your predictions, then voila, you performed the experiment. If it doesn't match your predictions, you've...
No, that's false. You don't go and look to see if it happens and then you perform an experiment. That's not how it works, Craig. What the? You first observe natural phenomena. You then create a hypothesis for that observed natural phenomena. You then do your prediction and do an experiment based on your hypothesis to see if that was indeed the cause for the observed effect. Dude, get it right. We've been through this many times.
Perform the experiment and you failed to falsify it, or you actually falsified it.
Wow. So again, just a clear, for anybody who can't follow here, I mean, it's just a clear demonstration of his mental disability. He doesn't know what independent variables, dependent variables, controls are. He doesn't know all the steps of the scientific method or how to apply them or the role of these variables. That's why I threw them on the screen. I mean, I don't know how many preschools learn this, but I did find preschool worksheets. I don't really remember preschool, but I don't think I learned the scientific method in preschool. I don't even think I learned it in kindergarten. It probably was more of like first grade, second grade. But there's clearly worksheets out there for preschoolers, even non-private preschools. So some kind of, government preschools, kindergartens, whatever. They're on those websites. So again, Craig he's not even at that preschool level. So what can you really do with this guy? I mean, I think I accurately called it at the beginning. I mean, borderline vegetable. I mean, can this guy tie his own shoes?
Borderline vegetable. That's a good one.
We do need that poll. I mean, I would actually be shocked if he could. Can he? I wonder if he's gonna take that challenge and upload a video of him tying his own shoes.
Well, funny thing is, I saw him on I think it was Twitter, where he just because someone says he's not sure he can do push-ups, he went and did 10 push-ups for them. Like, what the hell? Really? Okay. That makes you a man now because you can do 10 push-ups. Wow. Come back to me, Craig, when you can do 100 push-ups, okay? Andy Worth, out of interest, in all the years you've been doing this, have you converted anyone to FE? And I mean I don't convert. It's not a religion, Andy. And yes, there's many people that have realized it's flat, dude. I get emails all the time telling me, thank you for the work you're doing. Yeah. Really, dude. This is not a religion or anything, and I'm not forcing it onto anybody. This is my perspective. Flatzoid's perspective. It's a channel.
What's the conversion about? It's a change of what you believe through evidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a religion where you have to convert.
Exactly. The only one that is a religion is the globe. The heliocentric religion is a religion. That's why you guys are all into this converting bullshit and trying your best to try push your faith on other people. Nah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how it works, mate.
It's in that case. But absolutely, making an observation at a particular time and place can be an experiment. Absolutely.
Okay, so observation and experiment.
Wow. Absolutely. Even has confidence that it can be. No.
Are synonymous to you?
An observation can be an experiment.
No.
I'll ask the question again. Are an observation and experiment the exact same thing, or are they different steps of the scientific method?
Different steps.
Exactly.
Observation is step 1 of the scientific method. Okay. Experiment is step 4 of the scientific method.
Okay, so I don't know if he's just reading off a cheat sheet or a...
Oh, he's reading off. He doesn't know these things off by heart.
Or it's getting fed in his lug.
Mm-hmm.
Screen here, but yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is just really tough because even by his own words, again, maybe he wasn't looking at the cheat sheet before, the preschool cheat sheet, but now he's looking at it. If an observation is an experiment, I mean, if these are different, he's admitting they're different steps, but they're the same thing. So why abandon the rest of the scientific method? And again, notice how since he doesn't know what the scientific method even is or what the variables are, and that manipulation of variables is what lends scientific legitimacy.
Well, Mindshock, Craig believes you don't need to have an independent variable for science. Yeah. Believe it or not, guys, Craig believes you do not require to have an independent variable.
He does think observation is science itself, but he admits it's the first step of or part of. But he says an observation can be science. I'm sure I've heard him saying that.
Exactly. Flat Earth John Travolta, thank you, man, for your $5. Really appreciate it. Says Andy Worth has no comment or rebuttal about the fact that the Earth is measured flat. They never do, Flat Earth, mate. Because it's always measured flat, and they have to try and wiggle their calculation in the globe after measured flat, and they'll never ever accept that. That's why. But thank you very much for your super chat, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Quinlan, that's not being debated. We know observation is part of an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you know what you're testing.
Let's put it this way. The only part of an experiment that is observation-based is you observing the effect after you have manipulated the cause. That's the only part in an experiment that has observation. Because you have to literally observe the effect being conjured up by manipulating the independent variable. Hey, Osimo, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Instead of just hallucinating and guessing like a psychic or something. If the psychic made the right guess, that must mean they have psychic powers. According to Craig, yes. According to Craig, yes. According to basic logic and reason and scientific method, no.
But an experiment can be an observation of a particular thing happening. That would be the prediction. The prediction you would make is, if my hypothesis is correct, then I predict that at this particular time, we will be able to observe the path of the light from a star being bent.
No. That's so wrong on so many levels. Hey, RH, what's up? Good to see you, man. Why does these guys always fall into the same trap of thinking science is correlative? They just do circular reasoning. That's all they do. And then they expect it to be scientific. No, circular reasoning is not scientific at all.
Okay. Oh, man. I don't know if I can make it through this. I mean, Kaleb is just such a soldier to be able to handle this level of mental disability. Because Craig's just spinning his wheels here. But the thing is, he's not even accurate because Eddington...
Yeah, the sunrise video will still come, guys. I'm a bit busy doing other things as well. And like I said, I will do it when I'm back, and I'm back now, but I just haven't got to it yet. But I am having fun watching everybody ask for it every day. So let me put it this way again. You see my screen?
Oh, wow, I didn't even realize my camera's on, you know.
There we go. That's what I think. So Wally can take it to his feelings on this. If it takes me a year to bring it out, it takes me a year to bring it out, guys. Just to let you know. I don't have to do anything. I'm having fun at the moment just watching everybody ask every day for it.
Since predictions didn't even match. Like, none of those predictions matched. They threw out the results that didn't match. There's over 400% error rate in subsequent so-called observations. So that's not a match. So he's...
Do you think they even understand what an elevation angle is, Travolta, mate? I highly doubt it. Hey, Orbital, what's up? Good to see you.
It's like spinning your wheels, but you don't even have tires on the wheels. I mean, and you forgot to put gas in the car, and you're not even on the road where you're trying to go somewhere. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here.
That's the prediction. The experiment is going to that place at that time and testing that prediction by setting up your equipment and monitoring what has happened. Most of science is just monitoring things.
Tell me you don't know what science is without telling me. Yeah, Craig just threw it out the ballpark. Well done, Craig. You are absolutely scientific illiterate. Well done.
And see if it matches predictions.
Which variable was manipulated?
Mm-hmm.
What is a control? You won't find Craig talking about any of these things because he doesn't even know what they are.
Exactly. He thinks
This is so painful.
he thinks time can be an independent variable, Mindshock. That's the issue.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I hope the Mindshock listeners understand the level of pain this is.
No, Andy. The thing is, he debunked himself, and now Opinion them also debunked him by showing where it actually was supposed to be rising. Okay? Remember, I took more than one video. Not just one video. The fact is, he was wrong where he said the sun rose. Okay? If you guys can't accept it, that's not my problem. It doesn't make me dishonest. It makes you guys clowns.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's exactly what they did in the Eddington experiment and every other similar experiment that's been done since then.
With over 400%.
I'm not holding any evidence that proves the globe wrong, Oren. That was already done by Wally. He already showed it wrong when he made a prediction where the sun would rise, and it didn't rise there. I told you that, remember? I just have things to do better than showing that is wrong when he was already shown wrong by even flat earth math.
I like what YouTube put up about the bells. It says more dings in a car that's been driving around New Delhi for 30 years.
It does sound that way, yeah. Science is monitoring things. Legendary. Oh, wow.
Deviations, and none of it matches anyway, and they threw out a ton of data that didn't match just to make it look like it matched. How many times are we going to go over Craig's ignorance here of Eddington and the subsequent follow-up experiment? I mean, this guy's done zero research on the subject. Notice he hasn't provided a single source. Not one source.
Remember, when he does cite a source, it's Maktoon's site. Just to let you know.
The fact is, it was a prediction, and they formed an experiment based on the prediction to see if it matched the hypothesis.
No.
It did.
That's a fact, because it didn't. They threw out everything that didn't. And even the result that was left was over 400% error from the follow-up observations. I mean, this is just so painful. I have to say, this is probably the most painful one. I don't know if Craig's going to get more fallacies than Sartain, or even that Brian Myers goof, but this is definitely the most painful.
They analyzed the results and they found they failed to falsify their hypothesis, the scientific method.
Okay, so you would agree.
He just dropped scientific method out of nowhere as if it meant something. Because clearly it clearly is not in alignment with any of it, and he doesn't even know what it is. Mm-hmm. And then he says you only have to follow 2 steps in order for it to be valid, and he just says scientific method. He just says those 2 words without knowing what they are, like a little 4-year-old or 3-year-old. I don't want to insult, 3-year-olds. I'm sure there's a lot of 3-year-olds out there that are smarter than Craig.
With my hypothesis of unicorns, it would be just as valid if the assumptions that I make for the tending of the light towards the sun, it would be just as valid as the bending and warping of space-time, right? If all the math worked out and we tested and over the math worked out with the unicorns pulling the light towards the sun, it'd be just as valid as yours, correct?
And another point here, the math didn't work out with Eddington.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how many times I have to reiterate that, because Craig is just pretending and hallucinating he did. Again, I have multiple sources here, one of which is Harvard Labs. Over 400% error rates. Eddington admitted to throwing out the data that didn't match, which is why so many real scientists were skeptical about relativity, because it actually didn't match. Like, that's the main point.
Yeah, but see, that's the issue, Mindshock. They want it to work, that they have to be disingenuous about it and only place in what they want to work. That's how it works with these guys. That's why gravity is not a thing. That's why gravity keeps changing. Because they don't have any validation for it. They want it to be a validation, but there isn't. There's no validation for gravity because there has never been anything for gravity. And that's why they sit in the boat where, what's gravity? They don't know. Why? Because it's made up bullshit. They want it to be real. You might as well just say pixie dust is real.
So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even get there. But Craig's mental disability on full display here. Anyway, I mean, I don't know.
I don't need to show where Wally was wrong. He pointed his hand and said that's where the sun rose. And even his second video showed that's not where the sun rose. His own self. He debunked himself. Flat Earth Math did it too. Hey, David Banner, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Glad you can make it. By the way, guys, I don't need to do anything to show you anything because we're watching this now. And if you guys got an issue with me not caring about your stupid son, that's your problem. Go cry to someone who cares.
If Caleb's just humoring the poor guy for the sake of the audience, I'm guessing he is.
You can call it unicorns whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call the thing.
Again,
he didn't
we're
get
not.
it. He didn't get it, Caleb. We went through this last time when we reviewed this. He didn't get it. It's not about changing the name to something. The whole point of the argument is, if you're saying because the math, therefore it's real, he can have math for anything, and just because math works out, therefore it's real. No, that's not how it works. That's not science. That was the point.
Talking about calling it. We're talking about the reason for it. So Craig is just this level of mentally disabled. He doesn't understand that Eddington if gravity and relativity are at play here, that's the cause. If it's unicorns, that's the cause. It's not about calling a unicorn a Pegasus or whatever, and the name doesn't matter. It's or calling gravity whatever, some kind of magic pull instead of using the word gravity. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the cause, not the name. But notice how Craig is too mentally disabled to even be on again, like we're talking preschool, kindergarten level.
The sun is stupid if you worship the sun, yes, Andy. And heliocentrism is about sun worship. So yes, I call the sun stupid.
English here. We're not talking about label, we're talking about reason.
The fact is, the experiment is something is warping the path of light.
No, it's not.
Well, no. No, it isn't. Again, that's what you would have to...
What, David? Craig is trying to sue one of my subs for 7.5k. What? Really? Oh, no. Poor Craig. Let's check out this short.
I captured Jupiter's Great Red Spot with my largest telescope. This is the result.
Beautiful telescope. Oh, music. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you know what music does. Raw video in daylight.
By the way, I put David Banner's link up if anybody wants to subscribe.
Yeah, guys,
to him.
do subscribe to David Banner. Definitely well worth it, guys. Wow, look at the red spot. Beautiful. Still doesn't look anything like what NASA gives us, though. Really weird. Exactly, LJ. As I said, it doesn't look anything like what NASA gives us.
True. Presupposing it is, and in building this house of cards, again, as Caleb called out earlier, begging the question fallacy, and obviously it's also a false call.
No, gravity doesn't exist, Orbital. Not that we don't know how it works. It doesn't exist. There is no gravity to know what gravity is.
Circular reasoning, logical fallacy as well. And Craig, again, he just can't muster even toddler level brain power. He just can't muster it. And notice how many times he uses the word fact incorrectly, because none of this is a fact. It's like that's his only cope at being exposed, completely decimated and exposed.
But how can he try and take him to court, David? You know, the court's probably going to laugh at Craig there.
Wow.
I mean, we saw how how well it went for the guys when they tried to take Flat Earth to court, and there was no evidence for a globe. Loss of earning or something. How is there loss of earning from someone else? No. You see, but that's the thing with Craig. He's got this whole victim mentality bullshit. So, yeah. And Craig makes more than enough money off of his gullible followers.
He says fact almost like his blankie, like he's trying to soothe himself from getting destroyed on this level. He just says fact almost like some kind of soothing mechanism, like a safety blanket, because clearly he doesn't know what the word fact is. Clearly the word doesn't apply here. Clearly I'm not arbitrarily dinging him with a fallacy counter, because that's a fallacy. In order for me to be objective, I have to count every one, not give him breaks, because then I wouldn't be.
I already explained why things go towards the Earth. Orbital, if you haven't watched my stream from last night, I think I explained it more than once. Multiple times this night.
And in many more streams as well.
Yeah.
Be objective.
You can call it unicorns. We call it space-time. If you want to form an experiment based on the predictions of unicorns, then that's great. Then we can analyze those results. But you tell me, what would the predictions of unicorns be?
Obviously, it's a hypothetical. It's obviously a hypothetical. So all I'm trying to show to the audience is that my reference frame and my assumption of why the light tends towards the sun would be equally as valid as long as the math works out.
So he doesn't even understand the parallel. Like, Craig can't even follow the parallel. Or he's pretending to, not being able to, because he knows he doesn't even understand the basics of the scientific method or first grade English even. Am I being too kind there? Preschool English?
Actually.
Also, some people pointed out, it looks like Craig might have some kind of earpiece. I don't know if that's a...
Yeah, we've realized that. He's got McToon and them talking in his ear. We'll figure that out.
And it might, everybody notices that.
Wow, Flat Earth Travolta, again for gifting another 5 members. Really, really appreciate it, man. You really are blessing me tonight. Really appreciate all the support, man. You rock.
Oh, well, I've actually got one as well.
Aye. But thank you very much for the support, Flat Earth Travolta. You rock. Keep up the great, awesome work, and I really appreciate everything you do for this channel, man.
A headphone or an additional earpiece. Commenters have said he was trying to get help from somebody, because, I mean, just this level of decimation. I mean, who's Craig trying to fool here, pretending he knows something about something? I mean, a first grader can give a better, would have put up a better, I mean, possibly even a kindergartner or a preschooler. I don't want to insult them. They could have put up a better defense than Craig here. I mean, this is just downright pathetic.
But you see, that's what I say, David. Craig loves to play the victim. He's always the victim with everything. I mean, look at when he beat that guy up. Beats a guy's face to a pavement. And he plays the victim there, saying, "Oh, I'm not a violent guy. The guy was provoking." You know what I mean? That's the attitude of a narcissist, guys. Can't take any accountability for anything. It's always the other person's fault. You know what I mean? Always.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around it.
Craig, do you think math is descriptive or explanatory?
Well, before we get there, we talk about what you just said.
It's a simple question, Craig, and it tells me you don't know what it is.
Again, you need to have a hypothesis and a prediction and an experiment. If you've got that, you're doing science.
Notice how he never mentioned dependent variable, independent variables, or controls, or the manipulation of variables. So clearly you're not doing science. To do science with no understanding of variables.
Where's Wally? I know the hell. How can I put this? The actual story. You know, I was actually going to be doing a documentary on this with Craig. Craig actually came to me before he released the stuff. Yeah, he personally came to me on the internet. He wanted me to actually back him up on it. Where's Wally? So don't come with shit and say I don't know the correct story. I know every integrate. I'm trying to think of the right word. I can't pronounce it. Every single detail of what happened. Where's Wally? And yeah, you can try and defend him all you want. I think the judge said it best.
No. Hello, John. Hello, George. How you doing, man? I'm good. Just say Moxie. I don't think Rachel's in, Moxie. It's just because she got a membership. She doesn't have to be in to get a membership, so I don't think she's here. To be honest.
I didn't say everything Craig did was wrong. Where's Wally?
Sorry. She is actually here. I didn't think she was here.
Intimate. There we go. Intimate. I wouldn't say everything Craig did was wrong, but a lot of things he did do was very questionable. Where's Wally? Let's put it that way.
Oh man! Again, just props to Kaleb. Oh man, I really didn't know what to expect. Like I said, I've talked to him a few times in messages here and there. I really appreciated how passionate he was about logic itself. I mean, flat Earth, globe Earth aside, who cares about that stuff? Just he was passionate about logic itself, and it shows here because he's trying to have a logical discussion. But the problem is, it's kind of like having a discussion with a coma patient. I mean, yes, they might be able to recognize, even though when they're in a coma, they might be able to recognize words. They've done brain scans where there might be evidence that coma patients can understand to a certain level.
Let's put it this way: usually, when someone steals your bike, you go to the police. You don't assault a guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
People that talk to them. So it's not that Craig is not responding to the stimuli of Kaleb's words. The problem is he's not comprehending any. But again, props to Kaleb here. I mean, he's trying hard to have a logical conversation. But how can you have a logical conversation with someone who's
No, the sun didn't rise where you said, Wally. You literally had your finger pointing at a point there and said, you see, this is where the sun rose. And then you brought out a second video that showed that's not where the sun rose. Maybe you got some kind of issue with your eyes. I don't know. But you do have a problem.
borderline vegetable? I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answer there.
Right. But if you're just saying unicorns did it. In what way did unicorns did it? Just saying unicorns did it isn't a hypothesis.
They bent the ether towards the sun. The unicorns were grabbing the ether and bending it towards the sun. Is that better? Does that help?
That was actually kind of funny. Let's see if Craig has a mental breakdown, because I'm assuming Craig doesn't believe that ether exists. But that was actually a very good parallel, because you'd have to prove the ether first, right? Whereas Craig is hallucinating the gravity's already proven, and you're just measuring the results of it. Exactly. So that's a great point from Kaleb. Mm-hmm. Props to Kaleb there.
And do you have a prediction based on a mathematical model for this to happen?
I could come up with it using the law of gravitation, which is just a math model, sure.
Right.
So you're saying it's interchangeable. So you admitting that you can interchangeably put space-time or unicorns in the equation.
And you could see it on his face. So we know he's not a complete vegetable. You could see when Craig was laughing at himself, he knows he got exposed there. And he has no answer for it. I mean, or we'll see what the answer is. But we know, so this is good. This is good. We know Craig is not a complete 100%.
No, you weren't correct, Wally. You were not correct. Even your second video showed your first video wrong. The sooner you realize that, the better it will go for you, Wally.
Vegetable. Because now whether this is evidence that he's being dishonest and not arguing in good faith, you can take it as, I mean, clearly he's still probably mentally disabled.
Let's put it this way. You think the sun rose right of the pole, and then the second video showed left of the pole. Really weird. Maybe you don't know the difference between right and left, but it's okay, Wally. We're here for you, man.
Well, unless he's the best actor ever. But it appears there is some cognitive function. There's some.
Shows that you have no evidence for space-time. That's all I'm trying to. I'm trying to get across to the audience.
Whatever you want. You can name space-time whatever you want. From now on, I'm going to call it Felicia. All right. Cool.
And that's why we call him Felicia. And by the way, he couldn't even spell Felicia right when he wrote it on his shirt.
Ping of Felicia is what causes the gravitational effects.
So again, here he's falling for the appeal to humor logical fallacy. He thinks it sounds more ridiculous to call it Felicia while missing the point completely, the reason behind what's happening, which is the whole purpose of science. If you could just call a phenomena or whatever, if it's just about switching labels, that doesn't mean anything. Like, what is the mechanism causing it? That's why you need those dependent independent variables and controls and manipulate them, so that way you can figure out whether something is actually causing something else or not. What you call it has absolutely nothing to do with this entire conversation.
Exactly. He doesn't get what the argument's about, Mindshock. That's the whole issue. He's too dumb to understand what the argument's actually about.
And I mean, this is roping in. I mean, I'm kind of hesitant to call it a red herring logical fallacy, because that would imply that Craig already kind of knows what he's doing here. I think his mental disability is too severe to intentionally red herring. But here, again, he's going etymological logical fallacy, appeal to humor logical fallacy, and red herring logical fallacy, because this isn't the point that Kaleb is making. So he either doesn't understand the point, he's too much of a vegetable to understand the point, or he does have the cognitive function to understand the point, and he knows he can't refute it, so in bad faith, he's just deflecting and going red herring and pretending it's about switching labels because he can't actually address the real argument.
There we go. How's that? I predict that the warping of Felicia will bend the path of a light. Will bend the light path of a star towards our sun. So I'm going to make a prediction based on the maths of Felicia and do an experiment. Oh, look, the warping of Felicia has done exactly what I said it to do.
Notice that Kaleb asked him a question how long ago, and he still hasn't asked it. He says, "What is mathematics? Is it descriptive?" He did ask him that. He still hasn't answered. It's crazy.
All of the maths and everything around Felicia is also the same as the maths for space-time. It doesn't matter. I've just used the name of the thing.
Again, we're not talking about the name. We're talking about what's causing it. So he's hallucinating that the basis of space-time or that there's any warping at all is going to and then just switching the label of it. He's stuck on that, again, either because he's just that mentally disabled, or he understands that Kaleb completely demolished him, and the only thing he can do is red herring here to cope.
Changing the name of something doesn't matter. You can call it what you want, but the mathematical model shows that this thing, unicorns...
Mathematical models are not science, Craig.
Space-time, Felicia, whatever, is warping based on the interaction of large masses. That's what it shows.
Again, that's just you correlating, even though it's false, because there's no actual evidence that ever existed, that ever happened.
No, it doesn't, because again, notice how there's not a single reference. Dependent, independent variables, controls, manipulating variables. Notice how there's none of that, because that's what proves scientific legitimacy. And he avoids that like the plague, because he either doesn't know about it, or he's just some kind of actor.
Again, where's Wally? You were wrong. Time to accept it, mate.
Showing, because he knows if he has to go to those variables and controls, then everything completely falls apart and he has absolutely nothing to stand on. Not that this is much anyway. I mean, this really isn't much either. This is probably the worst debate I've ever seen. Craig's performance here is the worst I have ever seen in any debate. I don't know if he's going to break Sartain's record in terms of quantity, but in terms of dumbest arguments, I mean, he's there. He's there.
1,512.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
How did he do that?
That's insane.
That's every word.
That's a I can't put it. That is a record that I think will be very, very difficult to beat.
Sizable amount, that's for sure.
Wow.
And I do have a question for all the Mindshock listeners. Should we make an adjustment here? When there are fallacies that are so astounding, when the level of stupidity is just historic, like with Craig here.
Well, thank you for the 64 people watching. Please hit the likes, share the show. Really appreciate all your support on the channel, guys. You guys are awesome.
What is energy, Craig?
Done. Well, mathematically.
What is energy, Craig? Listen here. Listen here. I told you he doesn't know what energy is.
Level of stupidity
Listen to
is
this.
just historic, like with Craig here.
What is energy, Craig?
Done. Well, mathematically. What do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean?
Should we have a fallacy, like a super fallacy? Like when he says energy, well, what do you want it to be? When he gives those kinds of OC answers, should that count as like 100 fallacies? Because if it's so astoundingly dumb.
What is energy, Craig?
Done.
This is Mindshock, Dave Banner. I think I still got it copied. See, there we go. There's Mindshock's video that you guys can go and hit it on. Really do support him, guys.
Well, mathematically, what do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean? What do you want it to mean?
Should it count as 100 fallacies? I think it should. I think we should have super fallacies added to the list. Even if I don't know how to quantify them. Should they be 50? Should they count as 50, 100, 500? I mean, I don't know. Like that level of goofery. I mean, that was interesting. I was not, even from a mentally disabled goof like Craig, I was not expecting that level of goofery.
What do you want it to mean?
So I don't know. I mean, I'll let the Mindshock listeners decide that. And for follow-up podcasts, for follow-up analyses, we'll see if there should be like a super fallacy, because that was definitely one of them.
So you're admitting that the framework of Felicia warping the light to go towards the sun is just as valid as space-time, right?
I've just changed the name of space-time. All of the maths, everything about Felicia is exactly the same as Einstein described space-time. It's exactly the same.
No, I'm very comfortable, Moses. Definitely very comfortable. Thanks for asking. Oh, Luci's still here. How's it going, man? Thought you left.
Let me ask.
Hold on. The only thing I've done, the one single thing I've done, is I've changed the name Space-Time to Felicia.
I don't know. It looks like he's being genuine here. It really does look like that he's just this mentally disabled. He can't comprehend that. Again, unless he's the best actor ever. I mean, he just really seems like he's being genuine. Because clearly, again, doesn't understand the scientific method, doesn't understand what science is or variables, controls, any of this stuff. He does not even on a basic preschool, kindergarten level. But he thinks he is. I mean, look the confidence in his voice. I mean, can you truly fake that level of stupid? I mean, again, if he's just this phenomenal actor, I mean, maybe he can. But I'm going to appeal to incredulity. Like, it's hard to believe he's this good of an actor. He's just fundamentally not comprehending that changing the name is not the subject of what we're talking about here.
Now, change anything apart from the name. All of the maths is exactly the same.
So if it's interchangeable, all the things that you said about the observations does not substantiate that a fourth dimensional fabric of space-time exists and warps light. Massless light, where gravitation's only supposed to act on mass. So you've substantiated nothing. I asked for evidence of space-time warping, a fourth dimensional fabric, and you said that it's completely interchangeable, whether you call it unicorns or whatever you call it. So would you admit you have no evidence that space-time is a physical thing?
I mean, is he laughing at himself there? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's rough. If he wasn't laughing, I think I might have to take actor completely off the table. Or, actually, no, there's probably another explanation here. Does he have some kind of mental condition, a mental disability, where it's kind of like, you know, people with, I forgot the name of the disease. There's some disease, like some kind of nervous system disease where there's like jolts, like it feels.
Yeah, cerebral palsy.
Feels like you're being electrocuted intermittently, but not always. Is that like, is he almost a complete vegetable? And there are just these glimmers of.
Yeah, I think he's just very stupid. He's so stupid he believes himself. Let's put it that way. That's Craig. He's such an idiot. Yeah.
Can I just say the Vicky socks are just idiots, man. As Vicky's had about 3 socks tonight. Numpties, can I just say? You're not even imaginative with the names. Come on.
This way. You guys stay rent-free in their heads. That
Yeah,
they
obvious.
feel honored that they have to actually go and create a sock account just to come
Exactly.
to troll.
I know. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true.
it actually takes energy to do so. It takes person's time to do that.
Exactly. So at least you're popular, Vicky. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
They're just jealous of you, Vicky. That's all.
Exactly.
Vicky's ace.
Cognitive function, and they're kind of intermittent. Is that what's going on here? Where like he can comprehend his complete and utter decimation, which is what those little laughs were about. But then when it comes time to really think,
What? Luch, Craig doesn't know what energy is. I've asked him the same thing before as well. And it was proven when on the stream, even where you can see when he asked him what's energy, and he says, what do you want it to be?
about it, just those electric signals just aren't there in the brain. That might be my new theory when it comes to Craig. Because, I mean, Kaleb has indulged him every step of the way, and he's still not grasping it. I mean, Kaleb has lowered this to literally preschool levels. And Craig still thinks it's just about switching labels.
That warps in
Yeah, Craig still doesn't understand what the actual argument is. That's his issue.
the presence of mass, and it could be anything.
Absolutely not. It's the Eddington experiment in 1919 and
Not an
experiments
experiment.
similar to it demonstrate exactly what we had asked, expect.
Wrong again, because again, they didn't. The predictions were all wrong by astronomical numbers, according to follow-up tests and observations, not scientific experiments, obviously. And he's like a child. Like when he doesn't get what he wants, he kind of cries, but he doesn't have the mental capacity to cry in a different way. So he can only regurgitate, Eddington, 1919, Eddington, without even understanding the Eddington's alleged experiment and why it's not an experiment and why the predictions didn't match.
So what's energy Flatzoid? Easy. It's just the potential for transference and transforming. That's all it is, Rachie, in very simple terms.
Which is why they had to throw out so many observations. And even the observations that they left had over 400% error rates versus subsequent tests. And that's being generous, because it could be far more. But those are the admitted numbers that we're going to go with, according to Harvard.
Not only that, but we can move to modern times and look at the LIGO experiments, which also match
No.
100.
Oh, wow, he went to LIGO. Not surprising. I don't know if somebody in his earpiece just told him to mention LIGO. So let's do it. Let's do the LIGO excerpt. And I covered this on another podcast as well. I will throw that in here. So now we're going to go to the goofs that claim that LIGO discovered gravitational waves that somehow prove relativity. Let's address this common argument by the scientism cultists. So, again, this is one for the coincidence theorists. Coincidentally, 100 years after Einstein's prediction in 2016, gravitational waves detected 100 years after Einstein's prediction at LIGO. So, the alleged observation of gravitational waves from colliding black holes. Now, everybody cites this and the existence of gravitational waves, etc., etc. What people don't know is that the data was injected.
Remember when we say they make things to suit their narrative? There we go.
So, to the goofs that hallucinate that this is all conspiracy theory from crackpot websites, this is right on the official LIGO website at LIGO.org. The gullible goof scientism cultists
Blind
going
injection.
straight to the source. They still disregard it because their cognitive dissonance is so extreme. Their mental weakness is so extreme because they view anything as blasphemy to exposing their religion as fraud. So you can go to www.ligo.org/news/blind-injection.php, and the full admission is here. Blind injection stress tests LIGO and Virgo's search for gravitational waves. The LIGO scientific collaboration and the Virgo collaboration completed an end-to-end system test of their detection capabilities at their recent joint collaboration meeting in Arcadia.
It's simple. Energy's potential to do work. Debatable D, that's why. So it's transferable and transformable. Keeps with the first law of thermodynamics. Not hard to understand.
California. Analysis of data from LIGO and Virgo's most recent observation run revealed evidence of the elusive signal from a neutron star spiraling into a black hole. The collaboration...
Yeah, Andy. And I conceded and said I got the two mixed up. Yeah. The particle accelerator and LIGO, two different things. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You know, this is when you realize a person's a human being. Yeah.
Knew that the detection would be a blind injection. A fake signal added to the data without telling the analysts.
Maybe type in first law of thermodynamics, Rachel. Maybe that will make it a bit more understandable for you. Because studying, actually trying to figure out what energy is a bit more complicated than just, oh, Google, tell me what it is, please. Really idiotic.
Let me repeat that again for all the Dunning-Kruger goofs, coincidence theorists, and scientism cultists out there. The collaboration knew that the detection would be a blind injection. A fake signal added to the data without telling the analyst. So those that think and hallucinate...
Without telling the analyst, I think that's the big keyword, yeah. They just believed it because they didn't know it was fake. Oopsie.
Hallucinate and strawman that all the scientists would have to be in on it. It was all fake. Obviously not. They self-admit that they don't tell the analysts. So the scientists are all happy and clapping and celebrating. Yay, we discovered gravitational waves, when it was all fake. Now, how many times do they have to fake it and then everybody pretends, oh, well, this next time it was actually real? Now, you know what's weird? I mean...
The first law of thermodynamics is the law of energy, Rachel. Did you not know this?
Yes.
That's okay. Now I know why you're a glober, Rachel. Sorry. To be plain simple, but yeah.
A fraudster who commits fraud so many times, are you gonna believe them when they say they're not committing fraud? Now again, I'm not claiming that gravitational waves aren't real. I'm just saying, if they're admittedly doing blind injections regularly, why would anybody believe that a real so-called...
I have to stop Mindshock. Yes, definitively there is no such thing as gravitational waves. Gravity doesn't exist, so gravitational waves don't exist either. So yeah, it definitely doesn't exist.
real signal wasn't just a blind injection. I mean, how much of a clueless goof must one be to hallucinate that these people are trustworthy? And apparently they've done these blind injections multiple times. I'm not going to go through the entire article here. I already gave the URL. You can look at it here. Now, if that's not enough...
Yes, it can only be transferred or transformed. Congratulations. So let's put it this way. If I go and kick a soccer ball, have I transferred and transformed that energy into the soccer ball? Yes, I have. First law of thermodynamics, people. I didn't create or destroy energy. I transformed and transferred it. Well done. Really? Physics 101, people. Get with it.
Let's look at further definitive proof of this fraud. Now, this is something else that I mentioned at least once in other videos. Theoria Apophysis, a very interesting YouTube channel. He actually talks about Jeff Amenko as well and the destruction of relativity, utter dismantling of relativity. He also has a very interesting video, again, where he's doing real science here. He's doing experiments you could do yourself with magnetism. So he addressed gravitational waves being discovered and the alleged equipment used to discover this and the alleged signal, which they get once and never again, is it within the margin of...
Again, energy is the potential. You know what the word potential means, Rachie? They're wasting my time. She's the same person that doesn't get how Coriolis works, so...
error of not even detecting anything? Is it within the margin of error of faulty equipment? Now, the gullible goof scientism cultists, they won't even consider that. They think all of this scientific technology is completely infallible. So, but let's watch this video here because it is very...
Glenn, they don't get this, mate. They don't get how everything works on energy. They just don't get what potential to work means. Availability. They don't understand this. It's how do we get them to understand this? I don't know. But if the people don't have an IQ higher than a tuna sandwich, they're not going to get what it is.
Very interesting.
Okay, once again we have some idiot scientists seeking publicity for more funding so they can keep their jobs. It was announced today that the Laser Interferometry Gravitational Wave Observatory, of which there are 2 locations in the United States and 1 in Italy, which were used for triangulation. 1 is in Louisiana, 1 is...
Triangulation, oops, flat earth. You're going to need a flat earth for that.
Yeah.
in Washington. They're laser interferometers. And they supposedly gave proof or validation to Einstein's gravitational waves. Well, they didn't. Let's actually take a look at something that you can demonstrate here on your tabletop. This is actually an example of laser interferometry. Now, before I actually get to the demonstration...
No, Rachie, we clearly found out you have no cooking clue how Coriolis works. We've seen this multiple times.
Let's duplicate binary objects, and I'm going to use a pair of magnets right here. Got North Pole here, South Pole here, North Pole here, South Pole there. Let's actually demonstrate that underneath the ferrocell, but let's first talk about what they actually did discover, and let's take a look at their claims. Okay, when they've stated that when a gravitational wave passes through the interferometry, the laser interferometer, well, this isn't the case. Space-time in the local area is all...
Rachie? Craig does not know what energy is. Proven time and time again. We can't help you have some problem hearing. Craig does not know what energy is, just like you don't. That's why you keep asking over and over, and I have to keep reiterating it to you what energy is. I think I've made it very plain and simple. Rachie, Craig is an idiot. He does not know what energy is, and neither do you. So what does that make you, Rachie?
Altered. That's what they state. Well, that's BS. The EM phase shift retardation occurs. There's a magnitudinal measure, and space has no properties, nor does space alter any field modality. No proof for same exists. Likewise, Tesla and others have declared that space has no properties, and a field, of course, never has and ever could terminate in space. Space is not a terminal. They go on to state that depending on the source of the wave and its polarization, well,
kinetic energy is the use of the potential energy, Quinlan. Transference of energy.
Electric acceleration has absolutely no polarity. And they go on to state, well, the results in an effective change in the length of one or both of the cavities, the effective length of change between the beams will cause the light current in the cavity to become very slightly out of phase with the incoming light. Well, that's the key point there that they don't understand. The cavity will therefore periodically get very slightly out of resonance, and the beams which are tuned to destructive interference at the detector will have a very slight periodically variation of detuning. This results in a measurable signal. Well, this is a result you can see underneath any ferrocell, and it's a measurable signal. It's always it's a damn vortex, which is the same thing that they claim that they detected. So let's take a look at a pair of binary objects here in a second. Let's take a look at some pictures underneath the ferrocell of this EM phase shift retardation. Okay, here you can actually see the pointed patterns where we have a north pole of the magnet, here we have a south pole. They're actually phase shifting towards a center point. Here you can see the same thing. We have either magnet. We actually have a null point vortex right here as they're actually spiraling. I'll show you that in a second using the ferrocell. So this is...
But don't they always do stereotyping fallacies, YouTube? They don't even know what a fallacy is, even if they want to know it's a fallacy. So if they claim, oh, it's a fallacy, they don't know what fallacy it is, so they wouldn't be able to tell you what it is.
This is what they claim to have witnessed, but they don't understand. See, observations are one thing, explanations are another. This is where everybody gets everything wrong. It's, well, we've made the observations and they're reproducible, and they did wait a good many months before they actually announced their observations, so I'll give them credit for that. But what they have explained certainly is not the case. The observations are not incorrect, it's only their BS explanations and comprehension of the simplex field theory. This is nothing other than this, and this is classical electromagnetic theory. This is electromagnetic retardation and theory of relativity, but this is not about theory of relativity. It's the proof that classical electromagnetic...
I got nothing against Theophrasis. I got nothing against him, although I don't agree with everything he says. Some things he says are actually correct, by the way.
Magnetic retardation disproves the theory of relativity. This guy, by the way, Dr. Oleg Djefmenko, recently passed away. Multiple PhDs. He was a hardcore critic. This was...
Jeranism is nice.
Wow.
What kind of joke is that? Jeranism is nice. Wow.
A professor, endless math in this book, a hardcore critic of relativity. The proof that, for example, like GPS satellite correction has anything to do with proving relativity, he disproved that. He's written many books. There's another one by him, Gravitation and Co-Gravitation. He actually goes on to state that Oliver Heaviside accurately explained what gravity is in an appendix to one of his books, and certainly not Einstein. So the light phase vortex acceleration, the phase shifting, looking at EM phase retardation, is no different than that as seen underneath the ferrocell. And you can make a reference to this book. It's rather heavy. It'd make most people's brains explode. The entire fallacy is this discovery is that it uses the Fabry-Perot cavities, which of course proves...
Exactly, Glenn. As I said, there's things that he's correct about, and there's things that I don't agree with him. But overall, I got nothing wrong with what he says. Ken Wheeler overall says things that are correct and can be checked. So
Luke's is in and out like a yo-yo. Bye again, dude. I'm going to start going on the yo-yo, dude. He's in and out like a yo-yo.
So Jolly Man.
And you're definitely wrong about Jaron. He's not nice, dude. He's not nice.
No.
Here's my point entirely. It uses a beam reflector back and forth in these Fabry-Perot cavities.
Let's put it this way. Jerome's only nice with a person if he's getting something out of them. It's the only time he's nice to someone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any nice people who go about trying to have dick sizing competitions live on blooming YouTube. You know what I mean?
To actually supposedly prove their claim. Well, their observations are correct, but the explanations are totally wrong. The light vortex due to the dielectric acceleration is no different than light passing over magnets in a ferrocell. You know, by the way, their observation is that there is a phase vortex actually occurring between these binary objects. Well, actually, they're not actually objects. They're null points in counter space. That which people call a black hole is a point where dielectric acceleration actually overcomes the possibility for manifestation. It's kind of like an absolute whole, except, of course, space is nothing. Space is the absence of inertia, and time is nothing other than a measure of magnitude. So what you're looking at is complete absence due to incredible dielectric acceleration.
That's quite a claim, though. Space is the absence of inertia. That's practically the same definition for mass, though. That's why we keep asking Globus, what is mass?
So anyway, these binary objects, I'm using the word objects in the vernacular here. So they didn't find any evidence of Einstein's space-time, rather simplex dielectric acceleration. EM phase rarefactions and compressions, you know, space has no properties. Time is only a measure of magnitude, as I said. So they're only looking at high-order light capacitance phase EM retardation using...
Whoa. Time is just a measure of magnitude. I disagree with that too. Time is just a unit measure given as reference. That's all. There's no actual measurement for time. Time doesn't exist.
The laser interferometer. So using a laser interferometer to actually measure high-order capacitance phase EM retardation. And they're saying, well, those are gravity waves. No, it's not. It's simplex dielectric acceleration. Phase cancellation is occurring when the dielectric acceleration is out of phase and amplified when in phase. This behavior is no different as that seen from light pass through a slit. Gravity does not exist as an autonomous field modality. It's simplex dielectric acceleration. These idiots are just seeking more public funding. You know, classical electromagnetic field theory explains the observations, a la Tesla and Maxwell, not the idiot Einstein and his warped brain, warped space-time nonsense. So let's take a look at something that these idiots spent countless millions of dollars creating, and let's actually mimic the exact same thing by using a binary object underneath the ferrule cell. Let me turn the lights off, and let's place it underneath here, and let's wait for the image to develop. You can actually see that, you'll see this is a magnet here vertically, and
look, Andy, all he's actually practically doing is just saying there's no gravitational waves that can be replicated based on dielectric anomalations based on the magnetic fields. That's all he's practically saying, Andy.
One over here on the other side.
I'm sorry, because you guys don't understand what the guy's saying. Doesn't mean the rest of us don't understand. It just means you guys are dumb.
I know, and there's no need to be so antagonistic anyway. Do you know what I mean? I dare you, Flats.
But yeah, Rachie, Whitsett's ether does actually come from parts of this guy. No doubts about that, because he does believe in the ether. Like I said, there's some things I don't agree with him, and there's some things that he says is correct. But I don't agree with everything he says.
Whoops, I flipped it there. There we go. Let's wait for the image to develop underneath the ferrule cell. You see these egg shapes? This is a magnet here. This is a magnet over here. They're actually all coming to a null point at the center of the image here. They're all coming to a null point. If you actually look at the very, very center right here, you'll actually see a void. And this is, instead of, I'm using 4 poles here instead of 2, but this is the exact same thing. If you're actually to block out either pair of these on either side, block out this pair, block out that pair. This is the exact same thing that they report as having seen, and it's nothing other than simplex EM phase shift retardation. It's like, wow, that's just classical electromagnetic theory, a la Tesla, Faraday, Steinmetz, Oliver Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell. It has no support and basis whatsoever to back up anything Einstein says. What you're actually seeing here, you know, white banding, dark banding, white banding, dark banding, this is also EM phase shift retardation. You know, Mother Nature's a really simple girl. She only works off 2 principles, and that is force of motion, inertia, and acceleration. And there are only 4 things to understand in the universe: resistance, capacitance, permeability, magnetic permeability, and dielectric permittivity. Now let's actually turn these magnets end on. Oh my God, look at that. It looks like a single magnet, but this is actually 2. In other words, when you look at either pole like that, it looks exactly the same thing underneath the ferrule cell as it does with 1 magnet. Oh, how shocking. That would be a proof of a Platonic incommensurability. But this is the exact same thing they report in their own video as seeing. You actually see a vortex of binary objects rotating around a point, a null point of maximum acceleration and inertia. Is this any proof of Einstein's gravity waves?
Nope.
No, it's simplex electromagnetic theory.
The problem is when they take this. Hey, Cabbage Patch, good to see you. The problem is when they take this and they try and correlate it into dielectrics with the ether. That's the problem when it comes, because they take it and they say, see, because I'm able to demonstrate this with this, I believe that this is how the universe works. Not really. That's just correlation.
It's very, very simplex electromagnetic theory. This doesn't prove Einstein at all. It actually, all it does is it reinforces Tesla, reinforces James Clerk Maxwell. You see, Einstein didn't invent a damn thing. And what little ideas he did have, he stole from Henri Poincaré and others. There's actually many books out there about that. This is just classical electromagnetic field theory that explains the observations of Tesla and Maxwell. See, they actually make these very keen statements that they don't, they make correct observations, but incorrect conclusions and incorrect explanations, which is a huge fallacy of science. Huge. You can observe anything and you can reproduce the results.
You can't debunk something that's not real, Ute. The problem with this Theodora guys, he takes what he believes to be, how can I put it, demonstrating his ether and his dielectrics, and then says, you see, therefore it is. That's all. He's just circular reasoning. It's affirming the consequent fallacies. That's all he's doing.
You can say, well, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It's like, well, yeah, you've made a huge discovery there. Well, the explanation is there's a team of unicorns up there in the sky, and there's a sky god, and he pulls the sun from one side of the earth to the other. And, since I made the discovery, then therefore my explanation is also correct. No, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way.
I agree with you there.
So their observations are correct. But this is just simplex, high-order, light capacitance, phase EM retardation. Electromagnetic retardation. Oh my God, a very classical theory that belongs to Tesla, Faraday, Steinmetz, and Oliver Heaviside, and James Clerk Maxwell. Has nothing to do with gravity waves. Well, where's the math for electromagnetic retardation? Well, I suggest if you were interested in finding out about that, you could buy this nice book by Dr. Oleg D. Jeffimenko, and you will understand everything if your head doesn't explode. Very, very simple. Gravitation and co-gravitation has nothing to do with gravity waves. We're talking about phase cancellation of dielectric acceleration of a binary object. Here we have a binary object causing phase cancellation as it's mutually
phase cancellation
going around a null point.
It's just following the toroidal field, mate. That's all it's doing, Theodora. Simple magnetic fields, dude.
Of maximum acceleration. Or the center of gravity, if you will. Same thing as a hurricane. The eye of a hurricane, there's nothing there. Whereas the center of gravity, there's no gravity at the center of gravity. Oh no, well this is gravity waves. You see these light waves? Same thing here, except I'm using a quadrature instead of a polar. I mean, these idiots spent millions and millions of dollars and they want millions of more funding, which is why they made a huge press announcement. Because they want more money for more funding, because that will, pad their jobs for the next 20 years. And they're going to be looking for something that has already been explained 80 years ago by classical electromagnetic theory. Well, my God, let's reinvent the wheel and ask for a bunch of money for it. Actually, they revamped the laser interferometer.
Thank you for coming on. Glad you could make it. I don't know how long this guy's still going to be going on. Okay,
that's low, but typical for the scientism cult. So LIGO was admittedly injecting data without telling the so-called scientists. So LIGO clearly not providing evidence of gravitational waves. And, of course, we do have other very, very intelligent individuals demonstrating what could easily explain gravitational waves without hallucinating that injected data is...
That's the problem, Truth. They would need the redshift to prove gravity, and then they require gravity to have the redshift. So that's why they had him with us. So it's a catch-22 problem with them, actually. They need them both to happen at the same time, which they don't. None of them that happen. Weird.
Is legitimate. And let's see if Kaleb brings up the injected data here.
The predictions of the warping of space-time. Or,
how much is the fringe shift? How much is the fringe shift? How much is the fringe shift at LIGO?
Of what? Of the fringe shift in LIGO within the
of the lasers?
Yeah.
How much is it?
Within the margin there.
That's not an answer. Can you give me like a size? Like, Can you give me a measurement of how much the laser changes?
And notice how Craig can never, ever provide any sources. I mean, even fake sources. He doesn't even have fake sources. He's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but Craig doesn't even have an answer because he doesn't even know what fringe means. To be honest, I don't think he knows what fringe means.
Here, other than his vegetative rambling.
How much?
I'm not sure the exact amount off by hand, but I remember it's within the margin of error of the machine.
So he doesn't even remember anything. Like, what is he doing here?
What would you say you do here?
Exactly.
Like, seriously, what is he doing in a flat earth debate? I mean, this guy's bringing wet sponges to tank fights. What is going on here? I mean, this is why I have my theory that the flat earth psyop, again, it doesn't mean flat earth is true or untrue. The psyop is to defend the globe earth intentionally so poorly. So here's my next question. Was he a recruited shill because he has a mental disability, not because he's actually a good actor? So they wanted to get real mentally disabled people for these so-called public debates, whatever.
Or do you think he's just doing it out of himself because he's so stupid?
The social media presence. They intentionally went after the mentally disabled. So that way it would guarantee that they would put on these showings that are so poor as to recruit greater amounts of flat earthers to destabilize society, faith in institutions, etc. Not that anybody should have those, but obviously that would be destabilizing. So, I mean, I have to congratulate Craig here. I have a new theory thanks to him. Are they intentionally recruiting mentally disabled borderline vegetables? Because they can't risk that actors might not be good enough. That's my new theory. So thanks, Craig. We might be getting closer to the truth thanks to Craig here.
So you don't know the amount that the fringe shift happens, but you just believe that it...
No, again, I don't believe anything. I've looked this up and researched this before.
Then why don't you know?
So he looked it up and he believed what he read. He believed the headlines. Gravitational wave discovered. And he actually didn't research it because otherwise he would know about the injected.
Yeah, the pressure based on mean sea level, guys. Note that everything has a horizontal reference datum to get your measurements that you are requiring for anything. The only way you're going to know which way that is, Rachel, is based on a horizontal datum which requires a flat earth.
Data. And furthermore, he's saying it's within the margin of error. How does he know the margin of error is accurate? Like, seriously, how does this goof or any other scientism cultist, they just believe the margin of error is what they were told it was by the scientism priests and lab coats? How do we truly know what the margin of error is?
But TB, wouldn't you first have to prove it's a globe before claiming a center of a globe?
With this fallible human technology and fallible human interpretation of technology. And injected data. Admitted injected data. I mean, here's the thing, too. Like, if they're willing to admit that the data was injected, I mean, just the level of goofery of coincidence theorists, I mean, just think about it for a second. If they're willing to openly admit that they injected the data and that they really weren't detected, what are they not admitting? I mean, goofs like Craig, they don't have the mental capacity to even consider that.
Because I don't have an eidetic memory. I don't remember every single thing I ever look at, ever.
If you're going to provide it as evidence, you should probably remember it. Don't you agree?
I mean, it's like talking to a preschooler. Like, he knew he was going on a flat earth debate. So obviously he knew he could bring up Eddington, right? So he knew he could bring up LIGO too, otherwise why pull that out? I mean, he's only really referenced, what, 2 things, 3 things? Like Foucault's pendulum,
yes,
Coriolis.
Requires a flat earth, Rachie. Did you not know this? Everything your globe is based upon comes first from flat horizontal reference datums. Did you not know this?
Yes, Eddington and LIGO. So there's like 4 things. I mean, you can fit that like on a tiny little notepad.
What would you say you do here?
Like, I mean, he could easily have put the source there. I mean, literally, I mean, even some of these, the dumbest debaters on any subject, even they have some kind of sources, but he's got nothing. He had to look up the definition of energy. I mean, this is the most embarrassing, pathetic showing I have ever seen of anybody on any subject in any debate at any grade level. I mean, you could probably go to an elementary school and find a better debate than this, because Craig, I mean, this really is like dealing with a borderline vegetable. I don't know how Kaleb is doing this. I really don't. I mean, this guy needs a medal.
Well, no, because I've got the internet and I can just look it up and show and get that information for you. Having an eidetic memory and remembering every little detail of everything is irrelevant.
Now he's spamming appeal to extremes logical fallacy. So he's and red herring logical fallacies. Nobody's saying you have an eidetic memory would mean you would literally remember every single thing you ever read ever. But having 4 sources for 4 points obviously doesn't require.
Yeah, LIGO being level alone debunks the globe, guys. That's why I said I'm gonna draw it on Mr. Paint again, because I did this last time. Let's just have one leg of LIGO, okay? If I hang a plumb bob here on this side of the leg, and I hang a plumb bob on this side of the leg, are they pointing straight up?
Aye.
Aye. Are they perfectly horizontal with one another?
Aye.
So not a globe Earth then, people. There is no new zenith, reciprocal zenith angles. So in other words, because this plumb sits at the same plumb as this, aka it has the same parallel, it means not a globe Earth. Uh-oh. LIGO debunks the globe, guys.
An eidetic memory. I mean, we're talking about, he only brought up like 4 things. It's not like he brought up 100 things and he can't remember one of them. I mean, just the level of goofery on display here.
To a conversation like this, just because you can spout off a bunch of stuff proves nothing.
Exactly, Craig. Exactly. Just because you can spout off a bunch of stuff about Eddington, alleged stuff, which is all completely wrong, obviously, and spout off a bunch of alleged stuff about what Foucault's pendulum allegedly proves because he doesn't understand how the scientific method works. Yes. So Craig.
Quinlan, I would like you to prove that those 2 plumbs are not parallel. Go ahead. Go ahead and prove them not parallel, Quinlan. By the way, LIGO, how can I say, prides themselves on just how flat and level those legs are. Oh, this is sad. I think we'll end this here tonight. I think we got the gist of it.
Yeah, it's quite a long one. It's quite a long one, that.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's not like you stopped a lot. You know what I mean? You play quite a bit, so yeah, it's fairly lengthy. Yeah.
So what is your take on all this dumb stupidery?
I mean, wow. Craig doesn't change, does he? I mean, and to get that many, and it was just ding 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 ding. It's like only Craig could open his mouth and let his belly rumble, and every single thing be a fallacy, and only talk about a couple of subjects, and get all them fallacies. But there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you come to expect from like Craig, don't
you? Quinlan, geodetic surveying takes consideration of a ellipsoid after it's measured flat horizontal lines. Just had to point that out. Ooh, it's quite hot shit tonight.
You know, it's cold outside. Yeah, it's freezing in the Midlands at the minute.
Ooh.
It's not cold in this flat though. It's quite hot in here. I've got the heating up too high, I think.
Yeah, I'm getting hot.
You don't need any heat.
No, not at all. So, I want to say thank you for coming. It was a nice show. It's nice not to rush till 11 o'clock, though, I have to say.
That's it. This lord was trying to get in for a good time. He gave up about half an hour ago. He just said Ellemnet's not working for him. He's tried other rooms as well, and he can't get in. And I looked under people. He's still a mod in that, so it's nothing to do with his status.
Maybe it will work tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.
Because like I said, I had to log out of mine and log back in to get it to work tonight. So
yeah, he said he tried everything. But yeah, he always has trouble with things like that. He did with StreamYard as well, didn't he? And Restream. So he has trouble with them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that came, that supports the channel. Thank you for your super chats, your gifted memberships. Shout out to Travolta, mate. Shout out to everybody that is here, that came, hit the likes and shared the show. Really appreciate you all. I'll see you all tomorrow night for another epic show. And yeah, remember guys, we live on a stationary horizontal plane with topography. In other words, the earth is flat.